faster than a speeding typewriter, more powerful than a printing press, able to speak over tall buildings in a single sound. Look, up on the dial!
It's a conservative!
It's a liberal!
It's Supermouth! Yes, it's Supermouth, strange visitor from the past with powers and abilities far beyond those of mortal talk show hosts. Supermouth, who can change the course of local politics, bend ears with his bare mouth, and who, disguised as Mike Wiley, mild-mannered reporter for a great metropolitan radio show, fights a never-ending battle for truth, justice, and the American way.
Good morning. It's 10 minutes to 11, and we're starting our official show right now. I just did I guess it was a 20-minute, 5-minute blurb to Piers Morgan, because he had Carrie Lake on, and he was jumping all over her stuff. There's no election fraud, not whatsoever. So I had to explain it to him and show him the evidence that I had, and to let him know that if he wants to have me come on his show and explain it to his audience, I would gladly do so. I don't have to. It's really a waste of time, but my fighting spirit is back. Okay, that may have been it. Maybe watching Piers Morgan attack Arizona's darling, Carrie Lake. Yeah, that's right. I'm saying she's Arizona's darling. Because evidently, Arizona's governor is Ricky. Maybe she forgot to make the payment to cartel. All right. I taught federal taxation. Holy shit. The book was this thick. And it was... it's hard to explain. It's hard to explain that we in this country would allow the federal government to create a tax law that's not supposed to be even in business to begin with. It's illegal to the Constitution. Don't give me this shit about the 16th Amendment. That ain't right. Someday it's going to go away. Hopefully while I'm still breathing. The book was this thick. And here I am reading this book. And I thought, fuck this! Pardon the expression. It was so convoluted. Why am I going to waste my time learning this? So I just covered some of the basics, and I taught this course to 6 students who had no idea what they were getting into. I was a Democrat back in 1994 when I ran for U.S. Senate. And unfortunately back then, Hillary Clinton and her far-left Looney Tune Democrats were not supporting pro-American, pro-gun, pro-labor Democrats for Senate, which she should have. Okay, and I've got a little spot here we're going to talk about. I'm under the impression, after becoming a Republican in 1995 and joining the Buchanan for President campaign, and then I've been a Republican all the way up to the day the Republicans shoved a knife in the back of Donald Trump in 2020, and I went, that's it! If you're going to not support Donald Trump, kiss my ass. Kiss my ass. So, and I ended up joining back to libertarians, giving them a chance to see if they could do anything. Of course, they can't. They're incapable of doing anything because they're only up to D in the alphabet. Like, if you ever spend time with the libertarians, you'll know they're a party. Hey, let's go have a party. No, we don't need to win an election. We just need to keep the Republicans from winning elections. So then I thought, you know what? Maybe it's time to either A, start another political party, or, and it would have been a MAGA Republican Party, because there's a group of people, probably about 70% of the Republican Party are MAGA. And you can take them anywhere Donald Trump goes. And so at some point in time, it's my belief that if we take the MAGA Republicans, 70% of them, and move them to another political party, which I named the Jacksonian Populist Party, because Andrew Jackson was a populist. Okay, Trump recognizes that he and Andrew Jackson are similar in nature and populism, and that's why his portrait was put back into the White House, because all the other Democrats didn't like it, because Andrew Jackson was an American hero. I created the Jacksonian Populist Party, and matter of fact, I'm in my thing to Piers Morgan. I explained to him how I came across the election fraud to begin with, because I was looking at 2 districts in the state of Massachusetts that I thought I could probably win. Not me running, but my candidates running. If I could get 2 candidates in those districts and they did what I told them to do and how to do it, they would win. Which I'll just throw in. That's what I've decided to do. I'm getting back into the political warfare. 2024 is a big election, and I'm going to get involved. I'm kicking it off on Monday. The global fascist empire has kindly let me have my WileyInformationNetwork.com domain after putting me in purgatory for 60 days because I didn't do that the right way, so they're going to punish me. Boy, when I found out these people existed, yeah, you don't know they existed, but they control the internet. When you run for office, and I'm going to just show you this. This is also part of my campaign consulting speech. Opponents lack name recognition. This is on May 28th, 1994, the Mason-Dixon poll from the Orlando Sentinel. Hugh Rodham was first with 16%, and he had a 15% unfavorable rating. He was an asshole idiot. Ellis Rubin, 9%, unfavorable 4%. He was a lying lawyer. Yes, you were lying, Ellis. We're going to get to that. Arturo Perez, 7% favorable, 4% unfavorable. Arturo Perez was a nice guy. He was a Cuban, and I guess he fought in the Bay of Pigs deal, but he could barely understand him, and he would talk too fast, and he would spit, so you had to stay 3 feet away from him. And then Connie Mack was at 55%. So on May 28th, I was at 1%. 1%. I was at 1%. On September 12th, this was reported on September 9th. The election date was 9/8. So within just over 3 months, I went from 1% in the polls, where these criminal Democrats came and go, nobody Washington wants to help you. You're a loser. Get out of here. I got to 25% in 3 months. I went from 1% to 25%. I only had $15,000 to campaign with. Rodham came in first with 34%. He didn't get to 50, so there was a runoff between me and Mr. Rodham. Okay? Now, Democrats lie all the time. And they lie all the time because they think they can get away with it because no one's paying attention to what they say or what's written. Right? No. Okay. Now here's my book, Diary of Hillary's Right-Wing Conspirator. I need to read something to you because as we go through the campaign, and we're going to go through it pretty quickly because there's other campaigns that I have to review with you. The purpose for this is for you to maybe decide you want to run for office, but you don't know what to do, but I do. And I don't charge a lot of money to do this. I haven't done it in a while, but, when they're marching up to Lexington Green, you got to do something. And so here, on page 61, Ellen Davenport. She's the political editor for the St. Petersburg Times. I'm just going to read this to you. Advice for Rodham, give it up. Okay, this is in, I believe, May of 1994. Hugh Rodham, the presidential brother-in-law, brought his pitiful campaign for the U.S. Senate to town Wednesday. What a shame he quit his job for this. And no wonder the White House has left him out in the cold. After many discussions with President Clinton and Hillary Clinton, who is Rodham's sister, they came to the conclusion that I'm a big boy, I'm on my own, Rodham said. Rodham was surely on his own at a luncheon of the Suncoast Tiger Bay Club, a nonpartisan political group that prides itself on asking tough questions of politicians. Okay, so I was at this Tiger Bay thing. That was the first campaign thing. So this would have been in, this was probably around the end of May that this happened. It was painful to watch. Rodham makes healthcare the centerpiece of his campaign, but it's clueless on the most basic principles. He not only has no political background, he never voted until 1992, but he seems never to have read a newspaper. Rodham, a former public defender from Miami, has set out to defeat Republican Connie Mack, the popular incumbent. It's a thankless and probably hopeless task to better-known Democrat would assume. Rodham is right that any incumbent should be challenged. Voters should have a choice. That was the Tiger Bay Club when everybody met me. And we had 4 people running. And the first person that got up to speak, you had 90 seconds to speak, was you, Rodham. His speech was elegantly stupid. Elegantly incoherent, as she said. The next person to speak was Ellis Rubin. Ellis is a millionaire. Ellis has lots of money. He also lies for a living as a lawyer. I don't know if he's still alive, because he was like 60-something when he ran against me when I was 40. So he's probably in his 90s, sitting in a chair somewhere going, hey, Wiley. So he gets up and he gives this 90-second speech about he's nobody's man. He's a man of the people. And he is going to walk from Pensacola to Miami and campaign and be their representative. Bunch of bullshit. Really a bunch of bullshit. And then he sits down. Unfortunately for him, I was next. And I know, as being a radio talk show host, you have to understand something. When you're in a debate, you are samurai. You are samurai. You are honorable. You do not lie. You are samurai to defend the people. And samurais carry samurai swords. And you have to learn when to take the sword out and chop their heads off. Okay? And the quicker you do that, with the swiftness, the head just falls off, rolls on the ground, and that person's dead. Their campaign is dead. So I'm up, and I am samurai. I am honorable. I am. That's the way I always have been. And I get up and I say, look, I'm not a millionaire like Ellis. Ellis Rubin's a millionaire. He's got plenty of money. Of course he doesn't need your money. And of course he's not going to take any campaign donations. I'm poor. I don't have a dime. I'll take all the money you can send me. The whole place just went nuts, laughing. And I'll never forget Ellis Rubin's face when he turned to me like this. You can see this guy hated my guts. And of course he got back at me when he could lie. I only had $15,000 to campaign on. Here's a picture sent to me by a gentleman who was sponsored. There were signs all over the state for me. I never put them up. I never paid for them. People did that. Okay? That's how that is. And then here's a picture. And this is me standing at the microphone. I don't know who took this picture, but I got it. And that's me standing in the microphone and giving my speech. and just getting my voice back after like 4 days of I couldn't talk. So I want to read something to you because you need to understand how the media works. I think you know now, but back in 1994, we didn't know the media was full of shit. We didn't know the media was full of communists. We didn't know the media would lie to support the Democrats in any way they could. Third candidate ignored in Rodham Rubin's story. The Sun Sentinel ran an article on page 1. Poll shows Bush still leads pack in GOP contest. That was for governor. The article also mentioned the Florida U.S. Senate race and stated that Republican Connie Mack easily outpolled his 2 Democratic challengers, Hugh Rodham and Ellis Rubin. I find it extremely hard to believe that the Sun Sentinel is unaware that there are 3 Democratic challengers for Connie Mack's Senate seat. There were actually 4. The third Democratic candidate who recently made a speech in Miami is Mike Wiley from Longwood. I made one speech in Miami supporting the Cubans and their fight for freedom in Cuba. I was there one day. I got 10,000 votes in Miami. I bet they all were Hispanic votes. I didn't get the Jewish vote, and that's what Hillary did to make sure I didn't win. Amazing, huh? Of course, the media and the powers that do not want to give Wiley any publicity because the only interest Mike Wiley will serve is that of the voters. He is not committed to any special interests other than the people who will put him in office. A vote for Mike Wiley is a vote to continue to enjoy the constitutionally guaranteed civil rights we have had for 219 years and are just now starting to lose. Although I am a registered Republican, I also love America and our Constitution far greater than any political party. You can bet my vote will go for Wiley in November. And that was the problem. You know, I'm gonna cut to a lot of this stuff, but I tell the story of how Hillary got in the race. But I read to you the article about the fact that the Clintons were not going to do anything with Rodham and his campaign. They were leaving him alone. They didn't want to have anything to do with him because he was an idiot. They didn't want to be tied to him. But things change. First week of August, 1994, there's a secret internal poll that people with money in the Democrat and Republican parties call up a pollster and they go, hey, I need to know what's going on. How is Connie Mack going to do against the Democrats in the 94 U.S. Senate race? He said, well, he's going to beat the shit out of Rodham 70 to 30%. Yeah, how about against Rubin? Oh, he beats Rubin too. But he doesn't beat Mike Wiley. What? You mean the fact that half of the Florida residents own guns? Connie Mack's not going to get their vote because he shoved it up their ass where I came to save them? And I tell the story, I'll tell it quickly, but it's a Saturday morning, 3 a.m. I get the phone call from a gentleman whose name I will never mention because some people have long memories and have a history of killing people. But he calls me up, he says, hey, I'm sorry to call you at 3 o'clock in the morning, but we just got back from this Republican function we were at for Connie Mack. We met a lot of people. And then Connie Mack's campaign manager came over and said, hey, you guys are new here. Are you signing up? And they says, well, we can't sign up now. We have to stay in the Democratic, registered Democrats because we're on the Wiley campaign and we're supporting Mike Wiley in the Democratic primary. He said the guy's face turned like, and he said, Wiley, we can't beat that bastard. We can't beat that bastard. They had seen an internal poll. Well, unfortunately, the wicked witch of the East, that would be Hillary, because the wicked witch of the West is Pelosi, she sees that, and all of a sudden she realizes, holy shit, if things keep going the way there's going to be a Jewish, pro-gun, pro-labor, and secretly pro-life candidate, okay, and senator from the state of Florida. how is she going to get rid of me in the future if, say, she decides to run for president, thinks I'm going to run? I would never run for president. I'm sorry. I would never survive the stress. Nope. I was never running. But she didn't know that. She knew she was running. Okay. She had to get rid of JFK Jr. to win the U.S. Senate race, and she could do that to send him down in the airplane off the coast of Martha's Vineyard, where other Democrats have killed other people. Democratic candidates have killed people. I already did a show on that. So that's when she got out on a broom, and next thing you know, she's campaigning, she's here, she's there. And then, of course, they did the anti-Jewish thing where they hired Ellis Rubin. Ellis Rubin, yeah. Let me just read you something. Rodham himself has steered clear of speculating that why Wiley changed his name, but a staff aide noted that Rodham can distinguish himself from both Wiley and Mack, whose real name is Cornelius McGillicuddy III. Now, why does Connie Mack run as Connie Mack and not Cornelius McGillicuddy III? Because you run under the name you are known as. I found out when I was going to run that you have to run under the name you are known as, which means I have to run as Mike Wiley. I'm radio talk show host Mike Wiley. I'm Mike Wiley, the guy that led the rally in Tallahassee. I have to do that. But I have to go ahead and change my name, and it's in here where I changed my name just to show you. Here it is, March 17th. Remember that date, March 17th. Changed my name to Mike Wiley. Judge's order. My name change was effective 2 seconds after the judge signed it. Okay? So Ellis Rubin gets into the mix because Ellis Rubin, who lost the Democratic primary for a U.S. Senate seat, joined Hugh Rodham's campaign and start off by making an issue of whether Rodham's runoff opponent is proud of his Jewish heritage. Now, why would I not be proud of my Jewish heritage? Why am I such an ardent gun rights activist? Gee, let's see. Hitler killed 6 million Jews after taking away their gun rights in 1933. Gee, do you think Mike Wiley, the Jew's going to want his gun rights taken away? Hell no. And that's why I was such an ardent gun rights, and still am, ardent gun rights activist. But these idiots don't know that, or maybe they do, but they're going to lie because lawyers are liars, okay? I've seen it in courts. These people are full of shit. Not all of them, but a good chunk of them are. So Rodham is running against former talk show host Mike Wiley in the October 4th runoff. Rubin, who finished third in the primary, suggested Wednesday that Wiley's ashamed of being a Jew. Now, Rubin was pissed off because Rubin thought he would come in second and force the runoff, or he would come in first and be in a runoff. He thought he was going to win this thing. He didn't even make it to the final. On March 17th, he goes, on March 17th, Wiley changed his name from Schreibman because it was his family stage name, not because it sounded less Jewish, Wiley said. He said he had used the name Wiley for years, he said. He never mentioned his Jewish heritage in the North. Really, Ellis? Ellis, how many gun rights rallies did you attend when Mike Wiley was going through the North before he even ran for office? Actually, it was after I ran for office, started the campaign. And I campaigned throughout the North, telling everybody I was Jewish, and that's why I'm such a gun rights. But Ellis wasn't in any of those. No, Ellis was only at one. Ellis came up to St. Johns County, and we spoke at a Democratic function. He came up. He was the only one to come up north because the others didn't want to come up north because they were pro-gun conservative Democrats that wouldn't vote for communists. He never mentioned his Jewish heritage in the North part of the state. That's a lie, Mr. Rubin. Want to change your vote? Yet, among the condo groups of South Florida, he was very proud of his Jewish heritage. I am proud of my Jewish heritage, you idiot. We're running against a wily character, said Rubin, who is also Jewish. Remember, if you're going to take out a Jew, you got to hire a Jew. You're going to take out a black, you have to hire a black. That's what the Democrats do. Why do you think the Democratic scumbags in the Congress of the United States, the ones that cause all the trouble, speak out and attack people left and right, are all black and Jewish. Because when you attack the black guy or the black woman, you're a racist. When you attack the Jewish candidate, you're an anti-Semite. The Democrats do this on purpose. You watch. Okay? Have you heard of a man named Dan Goldman? Dan Goldman is Jewish. He's in New York. He evidently had an operation to have a portion of his brain removed because the guy is missing something. I'm telling you. Dan, you want to debate me, Dan Goldman? Come on. I'm going to have me a couple of candidates in 2024, and we're going to kick some ass. But Wiley maintained he checked with the election officials and was told to use his name by which he was known as an actor and radio personality. He said most knew him as Mike Wiley, a tribeman. And that's the truth. Okay, that's the truth. Then there's an article about the fact that I wouldn't consider. Okay, now, I got to throw this in because this is a very important article about the fact that most of the Rodhams that I ever knew, Hillary, you, and his brother Tony, were full of shit. And we found out 2 weeks before the primary, Tony Rodham is up north, probably on instructions from his sister, the communist pig, to go ahead and tell everybody Wiley dropped out of the race. You know, as I was going back through this, I realized that the same tactics these people used on me, they're using on Trump. You see, that when they can't defeat you in an election, they have to defeat you in the media. That's what they're doing to Trump. They can't defeat him in an election, so they have to defeat him in the media. Now Hillary joins the campaign. Okay? Hillary joins the campaign. Okay, let's just take this little article out. Now, as you may know, I was a gun rights advocate. I defended the Second Amendment, and I led a rally to save the Second Amendment in Florida. That makes me a person to get votes. But they can't let everybody know that I'm a gun rights advocate. They have to come up with something else. So what am I an advocate of? Oh, and so by the way, big sister Hillary Rodham Clinton, she goes and spends Saturday, October 1st, 1994, at all the Jewish places she could to get the Jewish vote, not to vote for the Jewish guy. Because that's the only way we can defeat him. Keep the Jews home. And that's exactly what happened. It was a great strategy of bullshit. But hey, remember, Democrats only have one thing in life to do: win elections, and then, of course, enslave the free people of the country. So here's the thing. It says, Hillary Rodham Clinton's brother faces a test on the Florida polls Tuesday. But this time, Hugh Rodham's getting plenty of help from his older sister. This time. She would help him before. Wiley leaves no doubt about where he stands on the issue. He opposes gun control, believes in government cover-up of UFOs, and says there is evidence the Clintons once belonged to Marxist organizations. This was a typical lie from the media, because I did speak out about the fact that one Clinton belonged to Marxist organizations, and that's documented proof, and that was Hillary. But they wanted to try to make me seem evil to those that Democrats are going to vote for me by saying, he attacked Bill Clinton. And look, everybody hated Hillary. So if I'm attacking Hillary, they had to make it seem like I was attacking Bill and her. That's just the way they are. Then it goes on, an opponent of foreign aid who recently declared himself, and this is me, a starving Rwandan, so he could ask for $1 million in aid. Wiley says much of his support is a protest vote against gun control in the Clintons. And then she came down, and this is written by Will Lester of the Associated Press. Good old Will Lester. I wonder how much she paid him, because Will Lester also wrote for the Miami Herald when he was an Associated Press guy. He does an interview with me on the phone for an hour and a half. An hour and a half. Big story, and it's going to run. But it didn't. For some reason, the only thing that ran from Bill Lester was this little piece of shit article. And the 1 hour and a half interview with me that was supposed to come out through Associated Press, which meant it would have been in all the major newspapers, didn't show up. Oh, they were cheating, huh? Democrats cheating in elections? It can't be. They even cheat against pro-American, pro-gun, pro-labor. It's a hint. You know, the Green New Deal and the electric cars, that's a real good pro-labor move on the Democrats' part, huh? So I'm just going to read a couple of more things to you, and then we're going to be done. The purpose of this video is for those of you thinking about running for office. Let me help you. Let me help you. Let me help you. Okay? I know Republicans like to use old Republican advisors, but this one guy didn't. Okay? This is a letter from Pat Buchanan. It was written August 8th, 1995. He was just writing to me to tell me that it was nice for us to meet. And with your help, we will restore America and the Constitution, yada, 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 yada. Thanks again for sharing your thoughts, and I hope to see you out in the campaign trail. This is August 8th, 1995. Okay? Now, for those that don't know the story, Pat Buchanan was in 9th place, tied with two other guys at 3%. And that was in November 10th, 1995. Thank you, Pat, for documenting that. Dear Mike, now this is written on December 24th, 1995. He's in the middle of a campaign. And then in Christmas Eve, he writes me a card because he's trying to catch up on stuff. Dear Mike, appreciated the excellent letter and counsel of 10 November. We are focusing our media campaign along those lines. Best, Pat. I gave Pat Buchanan the greatest campaign strategy in American history. Pat Buchanan went from 3% in the polls in the Republican thing to victory in New Hampshire. And the guy that was in first place, Phil Gramm, gone by Iowa. And the strategy was this. You know, when you come up with a political strategy, it's usually going to be something kind of really that nobody else would think of because it's above all those idiots that are in politics that come up with these same type of tasks and everything. But I was Pat's spokesperson in Massachusetts. I was on 3 TV shows. After Pat won New Hampshire, the job was the Democrats needed to destroy Pat because Pat had half the Massachusetts top Democrats in his campaign. We actually used to meet secretly. We actually used to meet at some back of one guy's bar, me and 3 or 4 top Democrats that were in the Boston City Council. They didn't want the Democratic Party to know they were secretly supporting Pat because Pat was pro-life, and a lot of Democrats are pro-life, especially the Irish Catholics, which there's a few in Boston. Matter of fact, if you ever go to Boston and you want a great meal of like meat and potatoes, you go to an Irish pub. You go to an Irish pub. And I can't tell you how great that food is, but I went to an Irish pub in New York. It's called the Blarney Stone. There's about 23 of them. This goes back 40 years when I was at Xerox and was sent to New York for some campaign thing, seminar with a good friend of mine. And God, the food was amazing. Meat and potatoes, gravy, meat and potatoes. So do you want vegetables? No, give me the whole thing of potatoes. Whew, that's great food. Great food. See, when you grow up in Boston, you learn to appreciate Asians for their food, the Irish for their food, the Greeks for their food, if you like Greek food, the Italians for their food, the The Jews for the delicatessens. It's a mixture of all sorts of people. Massachusetts is a great state. It's just run by communist scumbags. And I always wanted to one day destroy the Democratic Party or take it over. And that's why I was interested in this guy, Bolton. But he's off the path. But I guess he's got to be off the path in order to get... Anyway, so I gave Pat this suggestion. I said, look, you're in last place. We're sitting. It's November 10th. We got a couple of scotches in our hand, the back of this condo that's being redone, a brownstone. They were tearing out the brownstones, tearing out the kitchens, putting all new cabinets in, these big, gas, stainless steel stoves and everything was really nice. I guess you had to have money. And the interesting part was it was right on the border of, I guess, Roxbury was right over the other side of that. So the neighborhoods were a little rough then. So we're sitting and I go, Pat, I've got an idea. You're at 3% in the polls. It's now November. And you've got Phil Gramm with 23%, $23 million and 16% in the polling for. Now you can imagine. Here's Trump at 60%. Here's DeSantis at 10. Okay, DeSantis should have hired me instead of those idiots. But I already told him what to do, and he didn't do it. So he already had his opportunity, and it wasn't for him to run for office, but for him to get out and save face. But he didn't do that. That's what happens when you hire idiot Republicans to run your campaigns. You go into the toilet and you go down the toilet faster than the tiny bull man. So I told him, I says, look, you're 3% in the polls. I says, why don't you make your campaign, as he states here about their media campaign, why don't you turn your media campaign and position yourself up against Colin Powell? Don't attack him, but position up against him. And he goes, well, Colin Powell hasn't even announced. I go, yes, he may not have announced, but every day, every night, the left-wing lunatic Democrat media is telling us how wonderful Colin Powell is. Oh, it would be so great if Colin ran for president. Oh, it would be so great. If you position yourself up against him, don't attack him, but position yourself up against him as the conservative candidate, you'll go right by him. You go right by everybody else. And he did. He came in second he won Alaska, he won Louisiana, and he came in second in Iowa, and Phil Gramm dropped out after Iowa. And then he went on and he won New Hampshire. And that's when I used to get put on these TV things with these other Democrats, and all they would do all day long is attack me. Attack me. And then at the very end of the show, one guy said, see, this is the genius, and he's talking about me, this is the genius of the Buchanan campaign, okay, about what I said. Because they couldn't stand to know that there could be a Republican. Remember, pro-life, pro-gun, pro-labor, anti-NAFTA, Republican, huh? Me, Buchanan, and who's the orange guy? Now, they did go after Pat, and they tried to tie him into a racism thing, where actually they were trying to attack him on a anti-Semitism thing, because what they were saying is, Pat's got this guy on his stationery, and his name is what's his name? The executive director of Gun Owners of America, and he supported my campaign, and I'm a Jew. And so he was supporting Pat's and he's one of the co-chairs of his campaign. Okay? And they were attacking Pat for being anti-Semitic. Really? What a coincidence. That's a good thing. You attack him as anti-Semitic. Okay? And by the way, a lot of people don't know this, but I'm going to tell you, because Pat mentioned it to me that day. We were having drinks. And he was telling me about the time Richard Nixon sent him to Israel. They sent him to Israel in 1973 during the Yom Kippur War that Israel almost lost. That was the surprise attack war. And Nixon sent him to see what was going on and whether it made sense for the United States to send arms and military equipment and support the Hebrews, the Israelis. So Pat Buchanan, the supposed anti-Semite, is in a bunker with Moshe Dayan. He's watching everything, seeing everything, and he gets on this global phone and he tells Nixon, he calls Nixon, send the in. He says they need it, but they can win if you give them the aid. Nixon turned right around, sent all this military equipment and everything to Israel. Israel turned the war around and they won. And Israel is a free country today. And Pat Buchanan was part of it. So how the hell could Pat Buchanan be an anti-Semite? That's what that's what I don't know. That's what I don't know. But that's what they do. That's what Democrats do. Democrats lie. They're full of shit. And so I'm showing you this because you may be one of those people that they believe is too dangerous, like me. And so they have to tag you with something. In my case, I'm an advocate for UFOs, okay? I spoke about it probably once on a radio show, but now I'm tagged for the rest of my life. If I run for office, you know they're going to pull that shit out because most people in the media don't know a fucking thing. So they're going to go through and go, what did somebody else write about it? Oh, yes, okay. If you're going to run for office, God bless you. We need some real good people. I'm going to be available. I'm getting the website starting Monday. Is going to start getting built. Now that the domain name is transferred, thank you, ICANN. ICANN is a global scumbag organization that is in control of the internet. And they can determine what anything happens. We have no idea how globalist everything is. So there you have it. That's for all you people considering running for office. I don't care who you are. If you've got me on your side and I'm a consultant and your spokesperson, remember, I can torch your opponent in 60 seconds. $875 billion. It's probably about $1.3 trillion now. Why should Americans spend $1.3 trillion to file taxes? Think about it. What else is better to be done with $1.3 trillion? Instead of hiring 87,000 people with guns to collect money, get rid of the IRS altogether. Get rid of it. Get rid of it. Instead, use AI. Everybody's touting AI. Oh, AI, yeah. AI will work as long as it's not planned to be customer oriented, because people aren't going to stand to go through the list of shit that thing's going to want to ask you before it decides to put you where you want to go. That's what drives me nuts. So why should we spend $1.3 trillion? Right now, they did a continuing resolution of bullshit to prevent the government from closing. Now, the reason why the Republicans do that is because the Democrats got to run around going, they closed down the government! Everyone's going to starve and die! We don't need the government! We don't need the government. We need local government. We need local government. Is the FBI working for us? No. Does the IRS work for us? No. Does the education department work for us? No. But what do they all have in common? They cost us trillions of dollars. Trillions of dollars. Why are we spending all this money? How else do politicians become millionaires? They have to get kickbacks. They have to spend money. The politician has to spend money to make money. That's how it works. Wiley will challenge Rodham for ticket. This is from the Tallahassee Ledger, Washington Bureau. Wiley, 42, courted conservative Florida Democrats with his broadsides against gun control and by pitching an America First agenda. Yeah, I was America First before Pat Buchanan and before Donald Trump. He spent about $25,000, $10,000 of which went toward a filing fee. $10,000 filing fee. That's to keep the poor people off from running for office. I'm telling you. Rubin, 69, who has run statewide previously as a Republican, is best known for his unconventional defenses and penchant for publicity. And he's a lying piece of shit. And we have documentation of it. That was my famous line. All right, that's it. You want to know more about the campaign? You may be interested or know somebody that's interested in maybe running for office. I only deal in federal elections. Okay. So if you want to run for Congress or the U.S. Senate, by all means, I'm the guy who spent $15,000 and went from 1% in the polls to 25 in 90 days. Let's see somebody else try to do that. Huh? Oh, and this, I saw this thing on Trump. They're going after him for the grand jury thing. Conspiracy to defraud the United States. Conspiracy to obstruct. Conspiracy against rights. Now, the reason why it says conspiracy is because they didn't actually find him doing anything, but they believe he talked to somebody about it. And then obstruction of an attempt to obstruct an official proceeding. Okay, they're going after him for questioning the election. That's as ridiculous as what the Democrats wrote about me. But I understand now why. I forgot that I brought up the America First thing back in 1994. And that made me dangerous. That's why they're going after Trump the way they do. America First. The global fascist empire doesn't want to hear no America First shit. None whatsoever. None whatsoever. But we have to prevail or we lose our country. And I'm not going without a fight. And I'm ready to help you fight. And I'm in that position to be able to do that. And this show will help. And we'll go from there. I love you. Bye.